Welcome to Renaissance Charge Videos. I'm Rick Friedrich, and today we're going to look at a motor Energizer that I picked up from a customer of mine yesterday. And here's this, well, first of all I'm going to say if somebody wants it relatively as it is, I'll be going over that in this video. And I want to talk about how this customer of mine was ripped off by Gerard. Well, not say his name because I don't want to get in trouble, but last name anyway. But you all know who I'm talking about. And I need to address these kinds of things. So anyway, what we have here is my motor that I built about 4 years ago. And it's about 450 pounds. There's 60 coils on here. There's 30 motor coils on the outside, 3 layers of 10. And then on the inside you can see there's more layers, or there's more, another inner layer of coils. So there's 60 coils altogether, and between everything it's about 450 pounds. And then of course these heat sinks are pretty big too. Now what I was doing here, it may look like a big mess of wires, which it rather is. What I was doing here is the customer initially wanted a really high output system, and I said, well, how many batteries you got? And he said, well, I've got 62 forklift batteries. And so I said, well, I've never had access to that big of a bank, but the bigger the battery bank, the more output takes place. So he ordered this, and what we wanted to do was do 2 systems here. So this mess, this is how I received it, exactly how I received it. So it's been sitting there unused for 4 years or more. And you know, it's obviously not been taken care of too much. But what we wanted to do was have 25 coils, motor coils, be charging up a really big battery bank with the old trigger coil circuit. So that's the way it's set up here. And then 5 coils are coming off of here, going into this box. And this is the older MOSFET controller, and so this is a separate system to get it started and up and running to a fast speed, and then these get turned on. And these ones are the ones that are going to give you really high output. And this is before I did the gate driver. So now that the gate driver is done, I don't need these at all. So what we're going to do is take these off and just do the gate driver MOSFET control. That gives the high spike. Anyway, that's the way we made this. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into putting that thing together. So, I'll talk about now, let me just say, for those who are interested in this, I'll get it all cleaned up and we'll replace, if somebody wants to buy these, they're welcome. I'll give you a really good deal on it, because some people still want these boards and they want to do the trigger coil arrangement. If somebody wants to buy this, the whole thing, I'll give them a good deal. If they want just the MOSFET control, which already has 5, I'll update the circuit on that, again for a reasonable price. But really, we've kind of discontinued this system because the plates are really thin here, and at certain RPMs they really vibrate, and I'm not really satisfied with that. I have a couple of more of these in stock, like just with a single 10 coiler, maybe one left. So I'm willing to sell this. I mean, I should keep some of these old ones around, but I just don't have the interest in doing that at this point. Like I have this tin coiler here from, this is the model that the other guy who had the 20 coiler had. This one wasn't as nearly as good shape as the 20 coiler was, and so he gave me this one, which I'll probably end up keeping. I got to clean it up as well because it's just been sitting there collecting dust for some of the time. But anyway, I may sell this. Let me keep it. I don't know. If somebody wants to make an offer, just contact me. You can call me up on the phone on the website, or just give me an email. Let me know. I haven't even hooked this up yet to evaluate it, but it should still work. But I can get that all cleaned up as well. And then, of course, this system, which people will recognize probably as like the rotorverter setup, the customer that that had this system, which the reason why he sold it back to me is because he had ended up I guess hiring Gerard back then, and Gerard was supposed to do something with all this because the guy didn't have any kind of electrical knowledge at all. So Gerard apparently, well, I talked to him on the phone. I didn't realize it at the time because the customer didn't say who he was, but the customer was asking me these questions. He ended up handing the phone over to me, to this guy, who then ended up asking me these questions. Like, one of the questions was, well, how many watts does it put out? And I said, well, it depends on the size of the battery bank. You know, the more batteries, the bigger the batteries, the more it's going to charge. Because it's not, the batteries are half the system. The beneficial process takes place in the batteries, not in the system itself, not on these parts here. So anyway, he's like, well, I can do 500 times the output from the input. And so I said to him, I was like, well, whatever, like, why are you calling me up then? Why do you want this? Why are you attempting to buy this from me if you have 500 times the output? And then he just went silent and handed the phone back. So I knew that in there. I said to the guys, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, and warned him, not knowing it was Gerard, right? So I was a couple of years later, like after I sold this and sent it out, they picked it up, and I got a couple of phone calls later on, like, how do you hook up a battery to this, and so I already had, all the labels on it, and I had done some videos for them, but nevertheless, Gerard couldn't do even basic electrical hookup of anything. So he's a guy that just uses keywords, and obviously doesn't know what he's talking about. So one day, for kicks, I decided, not knowing that he was the guy involved with this, I decided to finally start watching some of his videos. It's one of those times where you just want to have a good laugh. Like, it's the kind of thing that if you really ever want to laugh to that degree where you're just crying on the ground, with your buddies, sometimes you get talking and sometimes you just get laughing about things, and so that's the kind of level of laughing that you would engage in when you watch some of his videos. So I watched like the very first one, and it shows him running this a washing machine pump motor, and he doesn't show you the input that it takes to drive the little motor generator, the little motor off of his little power tool batteries, 36 volt batteries. And so he's not showing you the amperage, but he's showing you this output, And it's like, well, what's the big deal? Because we're not learning anything from this. And in fact, if you do measure it, which is what I've done, you find out that it's input equals output, more or less, with your losses. So it wasn't doing anything beneficial, but he convinced apparently like millions of people to watch his videos as if they were important. So I'm going through like the next video, and I think I get to like the second or the third video before all of a sudden he's talking and he walks over to my motor, to the very room that I just was in yesterday where I retrieved this motor and drove it back from Canada yesterday. And so there it is. He starts talking about it, and he's all going off about how this and that. He's attacking Bedini, which Bedini had nothing to do with this. And then he goes off about this cord right here. And on this case, I had a cord here, truly, with electrical, and that was only to run the fan, right? So there's a fan back here that is an AC fan, and it's optional, so that's why I didn't bother even putting a DC fan in there, because it's just something that if you're going to run those FETs really hard and you need to, temperature gets hot, you want that fan to come on. So anyway, I probably should have put a DC fan in there, but obviously I didn't. But anyway, he goes on about how, oh, see, Rick, or not, he didn't even use my name, because probably didn't even know my name. He said, well, see, look, it's being powered by that AC cord. Well, obviously that was a big lie. Anyway, the point is, here it is. And so I was like, oh, great. So obviously nothing happened with my motor if he's somehow involved with that. And so talking to the customer who actually paid for all this, and he did sell this back to me, so that's fine. I paid him yesterday for that. But he says to me that, he was trying to just give me stuff because he's moving and he doesn't have the ability to use this system, and so that since nobody was there to help him hook it up, he never got a chance to actually even use it. But in the meantime, this was another thing, and he just actually gave these to me, and maybe I'll sell them if somebody wants to buy them too, but I probably will actually do this the right way, because I know how to do this with these particular, well, we don't need a second one, we can just do the rewire this with adding the right capacitance, and you can make that run. It's not something that is very well known, but needless to say, this was purchased by the customer and wasted all this money and never got anything out of it. So he just gave them to me. That was nice, because he thought, well, maybe you can do something with it, which I obviously can. But anyway, I thought I would just mention these things. So Gerard, by anybody listening to him who knows anything about these things, can realize that he didn't know what he was talking about and was just using, deceiving people. And in this case, this man was out a lot of money for that. And that's why I bring it up, because I didn't really have the details until yesterday that happened. And I look at these people and they bring down this cause, that this idea that we can actually get free energy, and then these people go and they ruin it by destroying people's faith, wasting their money and their time. And so this actually implicates also this Mark guy who's supposedly replicated, what's his name, Gerard's system. So I really don't see that Gerard knew anything at all, and so if he was able to do anything, he most likely would have done something with these arrangements, but he was just let go back then. So it's sad, that happens, and that's why I'm actually bringing it out right now, because I think he's just abandoned the whole idea of free energy now, but not after millions of views on his channels, and that's where it kind of makes me a little irritated when I see that when you have these guys who are doing fraudulent claims and getting all these hits, everybody's interested for some reason. Their view count is really high, and those of us who are doing something, our view count is very low, which I don't care. I don't mind that, because I don't really want a whole lot of attention, because it brings negative attention as well. But the point is, I mean, I've been showing these things for years, and yet you get like a couple of thousand hits at the most on these videos. Well, maybe it's because my videos are too long and they're not sensational, and I'm not lying and making up all these claims. I'm just kind of giving you the down-to-earth truth. So anyway, I just thought I would throw this video quickly together, mention a couple of things. Maybe, let's see if I can cover what can this actually do. Like I said, this is not meant to provide a mechanical output, but I suppose you could set this up in a way where you could run mechanical load off of that. Like we could run one of these. I mean, these are only 7.5 horsepower. They're not very much. They're 1700 RPM. So this is more for the idea that we've been promoting over the years, is with big battery banks. You want to charge up these really big battery banks with this, rather than use it as a mechanical motor of sorts. But you are using the generator coils as well inside there, that will put out some output. So like I said, if somebody wants it, let me know. I'll get it cleaned up. It never was used other than as shown in my earlier videos that I made. Actually, I don't think I've actually uploaded very much of that video that I did when I first made this. I actually didn't have the battery bank at the time that it was needing, so I didn't run it very hard. So anyway, I think, yeah, all these things I'll end up either playing around with, or if somebody wants them, let me know. I don't really have the time for any of these motor systems or battery systems anymore. I don't need them, but this is what's available for the public. That's the only thing that we can really do that doesn't cross the line, the lines of going too far, which I'm not willing to do. So anyway, that's what we have here, and I guess you can't really see in there too much, but so thanks for watching.